Your forward operating base picks up radar contacts. Not 10, not 20, 214. Small, slow-moving, low altitude. They're coming from multiple directions, staggered in waves, separated by just enough time to complicate your response. These aren't sophisticated military drones. Most are commercial quadcopters, modified with explosives, some carrying shaped charges, others rigged as flying fragmentation grenades. Each one costs maybe $800. Your air defense battery starts engaging. You fire interceptors. Each one costs $150,000. You get 12 kills. Excellent hit rate. You just spent $1.8 million. There are still over 200 drones inbound. Your short-range missiles are reloading. Your laser system is tracking, dwelling on targets one at a time, 3 seconds per drone, and the thermal management system is already flashing warnings. Wave 2 arrives, then Wave 3. The math stops working. You're spending millions to stop thousands of dollars worth of drones. Your magazines are running dry, and the attack isn't slowing down. It's accelerating. This isn't a thought experiment. Variations of this scenario have played out in Ukraine, in the Middle East, in Yemen, and in Armenia. The cost imbalance is real. The saturation effect is real. And traditional air defense, missiles and guns designed for a world where threats were few and expensive, is struggling to adapt to a world where threats are many and disposable. How do you stop hundreds of drones at once without firing hundreds of missiles? What if instead of shooting drones down, you could switch them off? That's not metaphor, it's physics. High-power microwave weapons, HPM systems, emit electromagnetic energy at power levels high enough to couple into electronics and disable them, not destroy them, disable them. The drone doesn't explode, its flight controller fails, its GPS receiver stops working, its motors cut out, it falls. And unlike a missile that engages one target or a laser that burns through one drone at a time, a microwave weapon can cover an area. Everything in the beam's field of view, 10 drones, 30 drones, 50 drones, if they're in the cone, they're in the engagement zone. Simultaneous, instantaneous, electronic kill. This isn't science fiction. Systems are already being tested, and in some cases they're already being deployed. The reason this matters, the reason HPM represents a fundamentally different approach to air defense, is that it changes the cost equation, the engagement speed, and the magazine depth problem all at once. This is the quiet alternative to missiles and lasers that most people aren't paying attention to. But the people planning future air defense absolutely are. To understand why HPM systems are gaining traction, you have to understand why the current defenses are structurally limited when facing swarms. Start with cost asymmetry. A Shahed 136 loitering munition costs somewhere between $20,000 and $50,000. A Patriot interceptor costs $4 million. Even short-range counter-UAS missiles cost $50,000 to $100,000 per shot. If an adversary can force you to expend a high-cost interceptor on a low-cost drone, they win the attrition game. Not because the drone penetrated, because you ran out of interceptors before they ran out of drones. This is economic warfare embedded in tactical operations. Every intercept drains your budget and your inventory faster than you can replenish either. Then there's saturation. Air defense systems are designed around fire control logic that prioritizes, tracks, and engages threats sequentially or in small groups. When the number of inbound threats exceeds the number of fire control channels, engagement capacity, or available interceptors, the system gets overwhelmed. It doesn't matter how good your radar is or how capable your missiles are. If 60 drones arrive simultaneously from different vectors and you can only engage 12 at a time, 48 get through. Swarm tactics exploit this limitation deliberately. They're not trying to beat your defenses on wave 1. They're trying to empty your magazines so that by wave 5 you have nothing left. Lasers looked like they solved part of this. Infinite magazine depth. No reloading. Engage, re-engage, repeat as long as you have power. And in ideal conditions, they work. But lasers have 3 hard limitations that don't disappear with better engineering. First, weather. Lasers propagate through the atmosphere, and the atmosphere isn't transparent. Water vapor, fog, rain, dust, smoke, all of these scatter or absorb laser energy before it reaches the target. A laser that performs perfectly in clear desert conditions loses effectiveness in humid coastal air or a battlefield obscured by smoke. This isn't a design flaw. It's physics. You can increase the power to compensate, but that drives up size, cost, and thermal load. Second, thermal management. High-energy lasers generate enormous waste heat. That heat has to be dissipated through cooling systems, and if you fire continuously for long enough, the system has to pause to cool down. In a swarm scenario, that pause is a vulnerability. You can build bigger cooling systems, but that adds weight, complexity, and cost, and it still doesn't eliminate the problem. It just delays it. Third, dwell time. A laser engages one target at a time. It has to focus on a specific point on the target, maintain that focus for seconds, and deliver enough energy to cause a kill. If you need 3 seconds per drone and you're facing 20 simultaneous threats, you need a minute to clear them. If they're arriving continuously, you're always behind. The laser is always catching up, and catching up isn't the same as stopping the threat. The magazine depth dilemma compounds all of this. Missiles are finite. Even if you have deep magazines, you still have a number. 90 cells on a destroyer, 12 ready rounds on a mobile launcher. Once you fire them, you have to reload, and reloading takes time. During that reload window, you're vulnerable. In a high-intensity conflict where drone strikes are continuous, that vulnerability becomes a predictable, exploitable gap. These aren't temporary problems. These are structural limitations of kinetic and laser-based air defense when facing mass, low-cost threats. You can't outproduce an adversary who is building disposable weapons at commercial scale. You have to change the cost curve, and that requires a fundamentally different kind of weapon. High-power microwave systems are that different kind of weapon, and they work on a principle that has nothing to do with physical destruction. When a microwave weapon fires, it emits a pulse of electromagnetic energy in the gigahertz frequency range at power levels measured in megawatts. That energy propagates outward in a directed cone. When it reaches a target, it couples into anything that can act as an antenna: wiring, circuit boards, sensors, motors, flight control systems. The induced current overloads components, corrupts processors, and disables electronics. The drone doesn't burn. It doesn't fragment. It just stops working. Flight control fails. The motors cut out. It falls. This is an area effect, not a point effect. A missile has to hit a specific target. A laser has to focus on a specific point. A microwave weapon just has to deliver enough energy to the general volume where the targets are. The beam width is measured in degrees. That means a single pulse can engage everything in its field of view simultaneously. 10 drones, 20, 50. If they're in the cone, they're all being engaged at the same time, in the same instant. There's no dwell time. There's no sequencing. You fire once, and everything with vulnerable electronics in that area stops working. The magazine depth problem disappears. An HPM system is powered electrically. As long as you have power, you can fire. No reloading, no ammunition logistics, no counting shots remaining. The cost per shot is the electricity required to charge the capacitors or power the emitter. Depending on the system, that's a few dollars. Compare that to a $100,000 interceptor, and you're looking at a 4 order of magnitude cost advantage. If you're planning for a conflict involving thousands of drones, that difference is the difference between sustainable defense and economic collapse. The engagement speed is also fundamentally faster. Microwave energy travels at the speed of light. From the moment you fire to the moment the energy reaches, the target is measured in microseconds. There's no flight time, no intercept geometry, no leading the target. If the target is in the beam when you fire, it's engaged, instantly. But HPM systems have limitations, and understanding them is as important as understanding the advantages. Range is constrained by atmospheric attenuation and beam divergence. The farther the energy travels, the more it spreads, and the lower the power density at the target. Effective ranges for current systems are typically measured in hundreds of meters to low single-digit kilometers. That's shorter than missiles, shorter than lasers in some cases. HPM is not a long-range solution. It's a close-in, last-layer defense. Power generation is also a challenge. Generating megawatt-level pulses requires substantial electrical infrastructure. Mobile systems need generators or high-capacity batteries. Naval platforms have an advantage here because ships have large power plants, but ground-based systems have to balance mobility with power availability, and line of sight matters. Microwave energy doesn't bend around terrain. If the target is behind a hill or a building, the weapon can't engage it. You need direct line of sight to the threat. None of these limitations make HPM ineffective. They make it contextual. It's not a replacement for missiles or lasers. It's a layer in a layered defense, optimized for a specific part of the threat spectrum, close-in swarms of small, electronically guided targets. And for that mission, it's exceptionally well suited. Epirus built Leonidas specifically for that mission, and it represents the most mature, operationally focused HPM system publicly known. Leonidas is a solid-state high-power microwave system. Solid-state means no explosive components, no single-use power sources, no complex turnaround between shots. It uses power electronics and phased array antennas to generate and direct microwave energy. The system can fire repeatedly, rapidly, with minimal cooldown. It's modular, meaning the same core technology can scale to different power levels and platform sizes depending on operational requirements. Small systems for vehicle mounts, larger systems for fixed installations. The architecture is flexible. The operational focus is counter-UAS. Leonidas was designed from the start to engage drone swarms. The frequency range is optimized to couple efficiently into commercial drone electronics. The field of view is wide enough to cover typical swarm dispersion patterns. The power output is high enough to achieve electronic kills at tactically relevant ranges without requiring massive cooling infrastructure or dedicated power plants. Epirus has conducted live demonstrations against coordinated drone swarms. Multiple drones, flying in formation, autonomously, with onboard processors controlling flight paths. Leonidas engaged them simultaneously. Multiple kills per shot. Rapid re-engagement. The system worked, and it worked in field conditions, not laboratory environments. The U.S. military has taken notice. Leonidas has been selected for operational evaluations at forward operating bases, where drone threats are continuous. The feedback from those deployments is informing both the system's refinement and the doctrine around how to integrate HPM into existing air defense architectures. This isn't a research project anymore. It's transitioning to an operational capability. And that transition is happening faster than most people realize because the threat is already here. What makes Leonidas strategically significant is that it proves HPM can be deployed tactically. It's not a naval system requiring a destroyer's power plant. It's not a fixed installation requiring permanent infrastructure. It's mobile, it's scalable, and it fits into the layered defense concept as the volume layer, the system that handles mass without exhausting magazines. That's a capability gap that didn't have a solution before. Now it does. Raytheon's Chimera system represents a different approach, one that's embedded in a broader directed energy ecosystem and aimed at a wider range of mission sets. Chimera is part of Raytheon's directed energy portfolio, which includes high-energy lasers, HPM systems, and hybrid solutions that combine multiple effects in a single platform. Where Leonidas is optimized for ground-based counter-UAS, Chimera is being developed with more flexibility in mind. It's designed to integrate into existing air defense networks, potentially across multiple domains, land, sea, air, and to handle not just drones, but a wider spectrum of electronic threats. The Air Force has been the primary partner for Chimera's development and experimentation. The focus has been on counter-electronics missions, using microwave energy to disable or degrade systems at range without physical destruction. This includes not just drones, but potentially radars, communication nodes, and other electronically dependent systems. The operational concept is broader than pure counter-UAS. It's about electronic attack as a component of integrated air defense. Integration is key to Chimera's design philosophy. Modern air defense is networked. Sensors, fire control systems, and effectors communicate constantly, sharing track data, coordinating engagements, deconflicting fires. Chimera is being built to plug into that network seamlessly. It receives targeting data from existing radar systems. It coordinates with missile batteries and gun systems. It reports engagement results back to the network. This isn't a standalone weapon. It's a node in a larger defensive architecture. The comparison between Leonidas and Chimera is instructive. Leonidas is tactical, mobile, focused, and closer to operational deployment. Chimera is experimental, broader in scope, and embedded in a longer-term vision of how directed energy fits into joint operations. Both are valid, both are needed. Leonidas addresses an immediate operational gap. Chimera explores what comes next. Together, they represent the maturation of HPM from a laboratory curiosity to a deployable military capability. The strategic implications of effective HPM systems extend beyond just stopping drones. Drone warfare is scaling. Commercial technology is advancing faster than defense acquisition cycles. Adversaries are integrating that technology into military operations as quickly as they can modify it. Swarms are getting larger. Autonomy is getting better. Coordination between drones is becoming more sophisticated, and the cost of each individual drone is dropping. This trajectory doesn't reverse, it accelerates. The proliferation is permanent. Missile-based defense cannot economically scale with this trend. You can't build enough interceptors. You can't afford to fire them fast enough. The math doesn't work. Lasers help, but they're not sufficient by themselves. They have weather limitations, thermal constraints, and dwell time requirements that prevent them from handling true mass simultaneously. HPM introduces a new defensive logic. It flips the cost curve. A $5,000 drone becomes expensive if it costs 50 cents of electricity to disable it. The attacker's advantage, disposability, disappears. The magazine depth problem disappears, the reload vulnerability disappears, and the operational tempo changes. You're no longer counting interceptors remaining. You're managing power distribution and electromagnetic coverage. This changes how you think about air defense. It's no longer purely about kinetic intercepts and hard kills. It's about layered effects. Missiles for long-range, high-value threats. Lasers for mid-range precision. HPM for close-in volume. Each layer optimized for a different part of the threat spectrum, working together. Controlled by integrated fire control that decides which effector engages which target based on range, threat type, and available capacity. Future air defense will be more about electronic disruption than explosive interception. The side that can deny an adversary's ability to operate electronically through jamming, spoofing, and directed energy will have an advantage that transcends kinetic firepower. The swarm is an electronic threat. It relies on GPS, communication, onboard processing, and sensor fusion. Strip those away, and the swarm stops being a swarm. It becomes a collection of falling objects. HPM systems are the tool that strips those capabilities away, silently, invisibly, at scale. The microwave cannon isn't speculative, it's operational. Leonidas is being deployed, Chimera is being tested, the technology works, and the adversaries are watching.